Well, good afternoon, Martina.
Afternoon.
And I like to call you Mystic Martina because you seem to have got some sort of ability to predict the future when it comes to the markets and hypnotherapy. And a lot of people, I know that you've been helping them out in your marketing and stuff, helping people through these tough times. And it's another week. Things have changed yet again in the market.
Yeah.
What do you think is coming up for people coming up?
Well, I wish I had a complete, I don't know, crystal ball that would allow me to see in the future. Because if I did, I'd be selling it now to the government. I hate to say it, nobody knows what's coming up. That's how unpredictable this market is. Nobody's ever seen anything like this, okay? It is the most unusual situation ever. We know that certain industries are in trouble, okay? That's without a doubt. If you think of like property sector, if you think about the hospitality sector, those industries are in big trouble. So we know that if we start to look at most industries, we're looking at how many people this morning have been signing on to the government's furlough scheme. Millions of people, it's millions and millions of people are being affected at the moment.
Victoria Beckham?
Sorry?
Victoria Beckham?
Yeah, oh yeah, Victoria Beckham. Even Victoria Beckham, with her millions of pounds, needs to furlough her workers. And she's doing that because she knows that the government will pay them to sort of hang around until she's ready to open for business. And that's the big thing that's on everyone's mind. When are we open for business again? And no one's got quite an answer to that. I know I've seen some tentative dates that were put out, I think, yesterday. Where they came from, I don't know. Possible government sources trying to, soften the blow for us all. It looked like a possible small end of lockdown, small end, in other words, a few schools opening or whatever in sort of mid-May time. But June before we're even beginning to see pubs or anything like that, maybe even later. So that's a lot of time. That's like 3-4 months where people haven't been working. And the question is, how easy is it going to be to kickstart what people have been doing? Okay, so in other words, if you've been not getting any clients in and everything's been problematic for you, how long are you going to see, before you see an upturn? And for some people, it may be a couple of months, because then we're coming into the summer holidays. So if I was looking at anything for some kind of reasonable statistical analysis, you'd be looking at September, October before you're actually going to see some normality returning, providing lockdown ends, because the summer holidays is notoriously slow at the best of times. Now, I know that people were quite surprised when I was on your site and when I started talking about Google Trends, because loads of people had never ever heard of this before. It is a really good system for people to go on to see what's happening out there with certain search terms. So I'll give you a couple of inklings. Anxiety therapy. So what they do, if I looked at the last 12 months, the high point for searches for anxiety therapy was August 2019. So that's the most popular time there was last year. In last week, that was 40. So we've gone from a scale of 100, which is the highest day, that's how they scale it, to 40. So the searches are over half less. If we go to the week before that, so we're just talking, at the beginning of April, it was 25.
Right.
So even when there's the most anxiety-provoking situation in the world, people are not looking for anxiety therapy in the same way as they are at normal times. So we know that. That is repeated in just about every other search. Not everyone, but a lot of them. If we go to anxiety hypnosis, I chose that because that's your area. If we go to the high point for that, recently at the very beginning of March, before the lockdown happened, on that scale it was 91. So it was really quite buoyant market. On March the 29th till April the 4th, that was 19.
Right.
So there's a massive collapse in that search term. People are shell shocked. They might be anxious, but they ain't looking for anxiety hypnosis. It's now started to creep back up to 39 as of now. So that is still more than 50% less than it was at the beginning of March. So we're getting an idea that there isn't the significant numbers of people looking for things as they were. That's not to say there isn't business out there. It's just harder to come by. Weight loss hypnosis is one that's bucking the trend. Okay, which surprised me, but there you go. And it sort of makes sense now that we've been in lockdown and we've seen the responses to lockdown. People have got a lot of food in the house. Everyone went stockpile crazy. People are anxious and they're comfort eating. So there we've gone from March the 15th to the 21st. It was 29 on that scale. Now it's 72.
Wow.
So there's a big upturn. So that, if you start to put in some things on Google Trends, you're starting to see where you should be advertising. Now, for you, you're an anxiety professional anyway, and that's fine. But if you're a generalist hypnotherapist, then weight loss hypnosis and getting that angle of eating too much and sticking on the lockdown pounds should be something, binge eating, emotional eating, that people are talking about. Sleep hypnosis is another one that's interesting. That's starting to move up as well, 75 on that scale. So if you follow the trends, you can start to see, but you need to be looking really over a month or so, because if you're not getting a true picture, because obviously the trends will bob up and down depending on the day. You'll have lower searches on a weekend, and that's reflected. So you need to take that into account. The other thing you need to start to look at, and I was talking to you, wasn't I, Steve, about this, was Google Analytics. Okay, if people haven't got Google Analytics set up, you need to start looking at it, because you need to understand where your traffic is coming from on your website. Okay, where are your people coming from? Now, you were telling me you've been doing well on Facebook, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, on Facebook, what I've been doing is hitting two different approaches. One of them is getting my business page, putting posts on every day, also putting stuff on my personal page too. Just what I'm doing is I'm literally just nagging people, not in an annoying way. I'm just like, I look at it like I'm just like prodding every day, putting something out of some value, and I'm getting business from it. But one of the things I'm seeing quite often with a lot of therapists, and you'll probably see it yourself, is I see a lot of dreary posts. I mean, there's posts getting put out there from other hypnotherapists, and there's no way on earth you're going to get anything from it.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that people just do not know how to market this business.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't put drudgery. And by the way, a pop-up just appeared there, so apologies for that. My system just updated, just deleted it, so ignore that. But yeah, you're quite right. It's the approach. If you've just put up bland posts and you're not doing it in a way that tells people how you're going to help them, it's a waste of time. Yeah. But it's interesting, as you said, you're getting traction from that Facebook page. And interestingly enough, your Facebook ads, if I'm right, are turned off.
Yes, that's right.
So exactly. So you're saving money on Facebook ads, but you're still gaining some business from using Facebook to post. Okay. And if you've set it up in the right way with the right model, then you're getting traction. The interesting thing for you is that you've got a specialist page. Okay. So it is not a generalist page. It is a specialist page solely to do with anxiety disorders, which means that people will think of you as an expert rather than it just being a generalist page, which isn't quite the same. And a lot of people might not have that. So that's something to learn. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because this is only going to be a short chat, isn't it? It was just more about people understanding where traffic is coming from, setting up Google Analytics, starting to look at their acquisition. And I'll say, is it social, direct, organic, email, referral, what demographics, what pages are they going to? So they need to know that. There was something that appeared in your Facebook group that we both have been chatting about, as someone who'd said, hey, I posted something on a certain local sales page and I got a load of grief for trying to advertise. Now, when you're doing this in this market, you have to be clever, okay? Especially on group pages that might have, let's say, some odd people on them, okay? If you go into my local area, they have a spotted page, okay? And you've got them all around the country. I'm sure there's spotted Liverpool, Manchester, whatever. The people on that are idiots, okay? They'll talk about everything. They'll give abuse, they'll be rude, they'll do whatever. This is not the page to be starting to sell your products and services on. It doesn't work. You need to be picky and choosy as to how you're posting. If you're giving free information, like Steve's doing on his Facebook page to help, and maybe linking to some downloads that you might have, whether that be PDFs or a small ebook or something, to help people in this market, then you're selling, but you're doing it in an indirect way rather than a direct way. Then you don't get the abuse. Okay,
Yeah.
then people start to come in, start to download your stuff. Make sure you get your email from them or your contact details before you give them the product. And then you can sell to them in a different way. Now you can get them liking your Facebook page. You can tell them, you know, how you're going to resolve their anxiety through email. And then you'll get the sale in a slightly longer winded way, but a better way without the abuse. But if you go on to one of these groups and say, hey, come and join my anxiety, sessions, £90 a trot, people are just going to say, get lost. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Any
Absolutely.
thoughts?
Yeah. There seems to be a trend at the moment with, I'm seeing people putting stuff on, saying stuff like, how would you feel if you didn't have your anxiety? And I'm seeing those getting put on, and I think, I don't know who's making that stuff up. Very, very short posts from hypnotherapists. And all I'm seeing is like other hypnotherapists jumping on and answering them.
Yeah.
Well, the stuff I put on my Facebook page is really quite hard hitting stuff. Not everyone likes it, but not everyone ever will.
Mm.
And what I'm really doing when I'm putting stuff on mine is really getting people to think about stuff. So there's no namby-pamby posts from I put on my Facebook page. It's all hard-hitting stuff. And people are saying to me, it was that last post you put on there that really like pushed me forward, really like got me to the point of saying, look, yeah, I need to do something about it. So don't be putting posts on that are just bland, boring, I can help with this sort of posts. And people just need to know exactly how do you get that stuff out there? And that's where you come in.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best investment going, spending that bit of more money on marketing and getting that stuff out to the right people, isn't it?
Yeah. If you don't get it right, then you've got a problem. And as you said, it's sending the message out in the right way, or putting the right message on your website, or writing it in the right way. And I know we concentrated a lot when we were working with you on doing that. So you would be found it's easier, and it's some people like to try and take shortcuts, and it doesn't work. And before we end, because I know we've only got 15 minutes with this recording thing, just briefly, where you mentioned about people, talking to other therapists on their page. I'm not selling to other therapists.
No.
I don't want other therapists responding to my stuff. Yeah, it creates a bit of engagement, but it's no use to me. That's not paying my bills. The things that's paying my bills is the people, ringing me up and booking in sessions. So just bear that in mind. You're not there to make popularity with other therapists. You're there to sell to others. Sadly, that's what marketing is.
It is, yeah. And it's getting that message in. Let's face it, we work in the world of psychology. So if we can't get into people's heads, we'll get out of the business.
Yeah.
Can't get into people's heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make them think.
Yeah, totally.
So,
So we're going to have to wrap it up there, simply because our 15 minutes is up. We will be back, I'm sure, Steve, won't we? Because as the situation is changing, we're just telling people what we're finding, what we're seeing, and what might be useful to them. So Google Trends, Google Webmaster Tools, Google Analytics, get on there. Be resilient, okay? You might have a short-term pain, but you've got to be ready for when this is all over, okay? So stick with it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, Martina.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.